Here's an overview video of what to do when you receive your Humvee that's probably been sitting 20 years, 10, 20 years in the desert doing nothing. Fuel system, all the oils will need to be changed. Obviously this one's been restored, but it gives you an idea. Pull your batteries out if you have them. Pull out your seat. I would start with the batteries. Clean everything out, hose it down, dish soap, go through one by one, make sure the ends are good, replace them, check for cracks and all these cables. Disconnect one at a time, clean them, Scotch-Brite them, put them back on, tighten them, silicone them, we'll grease them just like the military did. But I would get everything cleaned up first before you do anything. Check all your cables. There's a little red button. Where is it? It's kind of hard to see. The red button right there. That's for your trans reset breaker. Just push that in. Make sure it's in. AC harness. Obviously, AC box. The next thing I would do, we all know the fuel system's going to be bad. It's been sitting for years. I replaced the tanks, but at least unscrew this, put a couple buckets underneath, and just let the diesel come out. Just drain out, clean it. If you want, you can put a little bit of gas just to get some of the black crud off the bottom. A gallon or two, let it sit for a couple hours, and then remove it. Flush it out, clean it. Next thing to do is come back to your rear suspension. Just check everything. Make sure you got your pins, everything looks tight. You can grab it, move it around, grab your CV axles. Look for boots that are broken. You're just looking for obvious stuff. Differentials, just look to see if there's anything. This is where you would drain it. Takes 90 weight, 75, 90 weight. Just unplug that, unscrew that, remove it. Once you've done that, I would transfer case. Takes transmission fluid, Dextron 6 or the 3. Drain it, fill it. Just get your little pump and just push it in until it overflows, and then cap it. Transmission, I always drop the pan before I start them, put a filter on it, put it back in. This one's got dual filters. Remove the filters. Drain your engine oil. Put new filters in it. Make sure this nut is nice and tight. They tend to get loose. Front diff, same thing. Drain it. I'll show you the fill in a minute. Just go through and look for anything that's loose. We are on the passenger side. This is the lift pump. So this hose here sucks from the tank, sucks it in. As the engine rotates, pushes it out the steel tube to the injection pump. So I always replace them because these lift pumps go bad and you fiddle around with this thing. I just replace them, get an original, don't get the Chinese junk. see if we can see the lift pump. The lift pump, we're on the passenger side. The lift pump's right there. Passenger side on the bottom. The dips, you would drain it right there, and then you would fill it right there. So this is your fill. I like to chalk them, so I remember that I did it. Brake calipers, to bleed them, you would just bleed it right here. 1, and then 2. Same thing with the front suspension. Just go look around, look for loose bolts, tighten as you go before you start driving it. Rear diff, a little more complicated. It's cooled by the steering. Get my fingers out of the way. So this is your fill. And there's your drain. Here's your drain. And here's your fill. Brakes, same thing. You gotta bleed them. You can see the little bolt. Try and do this to see the bolt. Try to get my hand in here. So that's your bleed hole. Right here. Your bleed. 1. And where are you? There it is. Yeah, there it is. 2. Same thing. So this is just an overview. I'm going to do other videos with the details. So here's your portal. This is your fill. And your drain is going to be underneath. Here it is. I can feel it. I can feel it under there. There's a plug. You just remove it right there. You just loosen that. They're always tight and rusty. Let it drain and fill it. So I always take these covers off. It's a lot of work. Take those covers off to check to see if the nuts are tight. So obviously the wheel comes off. Check the nuts, and I'll do a separate video on that. This is just an overview, basic. Let's see if we can do this with one arm. There we go. Wash your fluid, not that big of a deal, but get your generator, 24 volt, 12 volt. Just make sure everything's tight. Go through it, tighten everything, check all your hoses, make sure everything's tight. I always replace the hoses, belts. Power steering reservoir. Got your clamp. Open it up. There's a filter inside, spring loaded. Replace it. It always drains back into the brake system, boost system, back down into the power steering. It's got a bleeder that's attached to the regular bleeding system that attaches to the front there. So to fill it, you would just loosen this real easy. It's nice and finger tight. You would just put your power steering fluid in there. Put your brass cap nut thing on. And to bleed it, once you start it, it's a little bit of a process. They start up, they cry, they make a lot of noise. This is your fill site. Just keep that full. And I'll do a process on how to do it. Oil. Dipstick. Just regular dipstick to check. To fill oil, engine oil, you would just take this off, just like a regular car. Put it on, put your oil. Thermostat is in here. Injection pump with the blue spring. Intake manifold, driver's side. This valve, some call it the Cadillac valve. This operates through sensors to turn your fan on, and it's hydraulic. Check all your lights. Air filter, I would take that lid off. Just got your 10 millimeters. Just remove your lid cover before you start anything. Radiator fluid, just fill it, make sure it's topped off. And that should be it. Enough AC compressor. That should be enough to get you going. I'll do a detailed one later on.